I just love it when a movie uses the concept of mirror domains. What is that? It's one of these. But that's a different story. Let's talk about this movie, Divergent. Alright, this is my review for Divergent. That is directed by Neil Burger. And it stars Shaileene Woodley, Theo James, Miles Teller, Zoe Kravitz, Ashley Judd, and Kate Winslet. But James, aren't you also going to mention the fact that it stars the guy who played the son in A Good Day to Die Hard? No. Okay, so this movie tells the tale of the distant future where people live in a confined city space and are separated into different factions. A teenage girl, Beatrice, and her brother are about to ascend into adulthood where they must leave their parents and choose a faction. This process includes a testing phase which determines their personality and which faction they will live in. Beatrice, Trice, is able to master her fear, which allows her to circumvent the test and identifies her as a divergent, something the bad guys don't like. And she is able to choose whatever faction she wants to go into. She chooses the cop/protector faction where she leaves her parents and begins her training. This is a complicated story. This is a long story, running time wise. But let's start off with the acting. Shaileene Woodley. I saw her in The Descendants. She was really good in that. And she's really good in this. I mean, she just nails it. I liked every aspect. The supporting cast, unfortunately, I would say was serviceable. I mean, Miles Teller, as much as people like him, he was kind of an antagonist in this movie. Ashley Judd, Kate Winslet, I love them, but it was nothing outstanding. Theo James, the token stud, he served his purpose, and I thought he was okay in this movie. But I want to talk about the directing and the acting. I'm not going to talk about the score. I'm not going to talk about the cinematography, which I liked, but a lot of the backgrounds were just all CG. Getting back to the directing and the storytelling, Neil Burger, who previously directed Limitless, which I really liked. I understand that this material is coming from a book. I understand the demographic that they're going for. I know I'm not it. But I felt like the story suffered a lot in the execution of the pacing and the editing. And that falls back on the director, which is why I'm going to exclude his points, which only leaves acting and storytelling. The story spends time setting things up with a lot of exposition, which it has to because of its dense background. And it does this a lot in the beginning and with her training sequences. And by the middle of it, it starts to recycle some of those ideas over again. And by the time you're like an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes into it, the last act just goes by like this, really fast. And you lose some of the emotional weight behind some of the certain scenes that they were going for. Like, it's just like, okay, here's a really powerful scene. You should feel it, but it happens so fast, we gotta move on. It just felt a little bit rushed. Now, don't get me wrong. I like these abstract sci-fi stories that come out every now and then. I liked the way that it looked. I liked the way that it felt. But that's why I'm giving this story a full point. And so in scoring this movie, that gives 2 points for movie factors. And how I felt about it, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. That adds up to 5.5 out of 10 for Divergent. It's going to be one of those movies where you either hate it or it's going to be one of your personal favorites, but it's missing some technical pieces. I liked it anyways. Alright, if you've liked what you've seen, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe.